وصحبه أجمعين. Shall we wait for a few minutes for the brothers and sisters to arrive? But we'll have a short presentation, short start regarding the course, inshallah. All of you have put your names down, alhamdulillah. Those of you who have registered, wa alaikum salam. And also, those brothers and sisters who have never done an Arabic course before or Quran course before, just put next to your name the level which you are at. If it's beginners, put B. If it's intermediate, put I. If it's advanced, then put A. Yeah, so don't worry. You can be confident. You can put advanced is fine. It's no problem. That's your knowledge of Arabic, grammar, spoken, reading, writing, anything apart from basic recitation of the Quran. So you just put that down as well. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin wassalam ala ashrafil mursalin sayyidina wa nabiyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. So alhamdulillah, we prayed Salat al-Maghrib with Jama'ah, which is in itself a blessing. Alhamdulillah, you came to the masjid. You had two rewards, inshallah. One is to attend the Quran class, and also above that is the praying in the Salat al-Jama'ah with the congregation, which the rewards will be multiplied by many times by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, inshallah. As I mentioned before the break, before the Salat, we have this sometimes, especially as non-Arab speaking Muslims, we have this notion in our mind that yes, I can recite the Quran, but I cannot understand it. And also sometimes we have children and adults who say to us that we cannot even memorize it, we cannot do the hifz of the Quran. This is really something which is completely false. Because Allah tells us, وَلَقَدْ يَسَّرْنَا الْقُرْآنَ لِلذِّكْرِ فَهَلْ مِن مُدَّكِرٍ. Verily we have made the Al-Quran easy to understand and to remember. So not just to recite it, but also to understand it and to remember. So get this, this idea from your mind out straight away. From today, the shaitan, he will say to you that, you've been to that class 3-4 times now. What have you learned? What have you benefited from that? This is the shaitan is continuously whispering in your ear that you are non-Arab. What do you know about Islam? Halanki, if you look at the history, some of the biggest scholars of our time were non-Arabs. Bukhari, he was not Arab. Yeah, Imam Bukhari, Tirmizi, the main books of hadith were not transmitted by Arabs, they were non-Arabs. So this is really a proof of the statement of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He has made the Quran and also the hadith, which is the sunnah, easy for understanding and remember. So never agree with this notion that you cannot tread on this path of learning and seeking knowledge. And finally, not contradict what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says. Whatever He says in the Quran is the truth and will always be the truth. Okay, I hope that's clear. Awais, you okay?
Yeah.
Have you had your... it's okay. The main thing I want you to take from today is really, number one, to understand what we are teaching. And this is the full table of contents of what we're going to go through, inshallah, in this level 1. And I also want you to think about that verse of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, وَلَقَدْ يَسَّرْنَا الْقُرْآنَ لِلذِّكْرِ فَهَلْ مِن مُدَّكِرٍ. And I want you to go back and see and to think to yourself that what am I here for? We know what we are here for in this world, and that is to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What do I want to benefit from learning the translation or the understanding of the Quran? These two things I want you to ponder upon them and come back with some answers next week as well, inshallah, if you can, regarding these two very, very important questions. Because in life you must question, obviously, yourself. You must question what's around you. And that question is not doubt. It's just to further enhance and to strengthen your Iman and your Islam towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And at the end of it, like I mentioned, at 8:30 we will finish, and I will welcome any suggestions, any questions from the sisters and from the brothers. Those who do not have any questions, they can move, inshallah, for the salat. Is actually 9:30 in the masjid for the Isha. Those of you who want to stay, alhamdulillah. Those of you who want to go, you can go, inshallah. Okay. I mentioned the salah earlier, that inshallah we'll be going to focusing on the salat as jazakallah, mashallah, the textbook has arrived, so some good news for you there, alhamdulillah. Those of you who are willing to carry on with us for 20 weeks or 20 hours, your gift has arrived, inshallah. This is the main thing, this is the textbook, inshallah. So the salah I mentioned earlier, that, sometimes we say to ourselves, that most of you have probably come across this in your life, that you say to yourself that I pray and I pray, but I don't get anything from it. There's no khushu, there's no tranquility, there's no peace. People are talking, besides me, and I get disturbed. Halanki, you shouldn't get disturbed. When you are in salat, you should be in a state of complete peace and in dialogue with none but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is what's lacking, is we do not know, firstly, what we're reciting, why we're reciting it, and how should we recite it, with tajweed. We're reciting Al-Fatiha at a speed which is never known to humanity before. We want to finish the salat in 5 minutes. If you take 6 minutes, Imaam said you took too long. Why have you took 6 minutes today for the salat al-Maghrib? I was reciting the ayah, I was trying to think about it, trying to complete the salat for all of you. So this is really very, very important. 3 things keep in mind: understanding, recitation, and that the state of being in front of, which is called ihsan, being in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The 7 surahs that we are going to read inshallah in this course, in level 1, is Surah Al-Fatiha. And you need to recite Al-Fatiha. How many times a day you read Al-Fatiha? At least how many times? Anyone? Roughly? 2, 3, 4 times a day? Every rakah, true. So there's how many salats a day? 5 salats a day. Roughly how many rakahs is there in each prayer? It's at least 25, at least 25 times a day. So that's how important. Some of the scholars, they say, if you do not recite Al-Fatiha, your salat is actually invalid. Shouldn't go off. They say that if Al-Fatiha is not recited, your salat is actually invalidated. Isn't that the case? Even though Imam Abu Hanifa does not agree with that, he says that if you recite Al-Fatiha in the first 2 rakat, it's enough. It's enough to recite it in the first 2 rakats. But even though you should recite it in at least every rakah of your salat. And we can just check the plug if it makes sure it's working. So Al-Fatiha is coming on. It's okay. It's coming up on now. Al-Fatiha, very, very important. Now, if I ask the room here, how many of you know the full translation of Al-Fatiha? How many of you would put your hands up? Out of just to get a quick survey. How many of you know the full translation of Al-Fatiha? All of it. One sister. Yeah, sister in the back. Brothers. Yeah, 2, 3, 4 brothers, 5 brothers. So most of you know the Fatiha off by heart, and also the translation. And also, when you see the translation that you see in the books, is it really the translation which is really should be imagined in your mind? Because don't forget, the translation, is it the same as what the Prophet ﷺ was trying to teach his Sahaba at that time? Well, what do you think? This is just a question. Yes, there's no right question, there's no right answer to it. Yes or no? I mean, who thinks yes? The Arabic language, that what we are seeing in the translation, but is it the same? Who thinks yes? Same, yeah? Arabic. Same Arabic. The Arabic is the same. Arabic. The translation?
The translation maybe.
It's as close as can get.
As close. But is it the 100% same? No, it'll never be. So remember that in your mind. Yeah? It doesn't matter if I give you 10 translations of Al-Fatiha, it will never be the same when you learn it properly through learning the grammar, the Arabic language, and also the hidden meaning of each word. Because each word has different meanings depending on where it comes in the Quran. So let's go through these points very, very quickly. So first thing is Al-Fatiha. Then we will move on to Wal-Asr, or An-Nas Idha Ja Nasrullah Al-Fath. Number 4, Al-Kafirun. These are all surahs which are in the last juz 30, as you know. Al-Ikhlas, Qul Wallahu Ahad, Al-Falaq, An-Nas. So these are the surahs which we'll do inshallah. And then also we will cover the Al-Adhan. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. All the Adhan, the full Adhan. You will do the dua after wudu. Yeah. How many know the dua after wudu here? Put your hands up. MashaAllah. Sister, dua ba'd al-wudu, after wudu? Yeah. Few brothers, that's good. You will learn what we recite in ruku and sujood. You will learn the at-tahiyyat, the last of sitting in the salat. You will recite and you will learn the durood upon the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, sending peace and blessings upon him. And also you will learn the last Idaja. So yeah, so these ones, inshallah, you're going to get the books before we finish, inshallah, and we will have some time to go through the books, just the two books. And then رَبَّنَا آتِنَا فِي الدُّنْيَا. This is a dua which we recite at the end of the salah. So don't worry, these are in the books, inshallah. So if you can make some notes, so just to remember yourself. Okay. So along with what I just mentioned, the translation, we'll also be learning grammar, simple grammar. Don't be scared. Don't think that grammar is something which I cannot master. What's that? You're shaking your head. So is anyone shaking their heads here? Scared of grammar? The brother's scared of no? The sisters are brave. They're not scared of grammar. So you have competition here. So grammar is not difficult. It's easy. But how will we learn it? We're going to be using sign language. We're going to use our hands, our face, not our feet. We're not going to start kicking in this. Don't worry about it. We're not going to start throwing kicks. Just it's our hands, inshallah. That's what TPI is. TPI is total physical interaction. And that's something which you will understand and you will get to know the words, and especially for grammar is very, very important. Take it? What we'll do, you will learn those 232 words which occur 41,000 times in the Quran, or i.e. 50,000, 50% of the vocabulary of the grammar, inshallah, you will learn by going through this course in 20 hours, inshallah. Okay? That's what we're trying to achieve from these weeks and months ahead of us. Why we're learning the salat? Because every second word of the Quran is from the salat. Every second word of the Quran is from salat. Just quickly, just teach this slide to your friend while I go through the books to give them out to you. So again, teach how many words we're going to learn, inshallah, how many times it is repeated, and how much of the Quran that is, and how much of the salat that is, inshallah. You can also go back to this slide if you want, but I think it's just best to stick to it. I'll give you a minute just to go over that while I sort out the notes, inshallah. علم. ठीक है बॉयज वैस अब यही बस इसी पेज को थोड़ा सा कहना कि कितने अल्फाज दोहराएगा, कितना टाइम आएगा कुरान मजीद में, और ये सलात में कितना टाइम है. ठीक है. You boys okay? You got some? You need some pen and paper? No. Maybe can you give some to the brothers in the back? And we're gonna give the books out, inshallah. Yeah, we have some notes.
All 41,000 times.
Okay. How was that? Is it okay? So he's corrected himself in the bottom. It's actually not 41,000, but it's 39,000 times. But still it makes approximately half of the Quran. Yeah? Half of the Quran, word which I recited. So, after you complete this level 1, this level 2, and after you complete level 2, after you've done the basic supplications, du'as, and you've done the surahs, small surahs in the back, you can also go on to level 2, which you will complete 70% of the Quranic words, along with the necessary grammar. That's level 2, which we'll come to after, inshallah, completing level 1. After the 3 courses, then you have learnt, so there's less than 2 words per line in the first juz. So you will know more than, in every line you will learn 2 new words after 3 courses. That means that you will not come across any new words after the 2nd course. After the 3rd course, less than 2 words, new words per line will appear. Yeah, that's how much you would have learned of the Mus'haf of the Quran. Let's look at it from here. So after 3 courses, so level 1, level 2, level 3, you would have, how many new words in the first juz? You would have 20. Then juz 2 to, so the sapara, which means juz 2 to 5, you would have 12 words on every page. New words, yeah? Juz 6 to 28, you will have 6 new words on every page. And finally, the last 2 juz, 29 and 30, you will have 12 new words on every page. This is after completing 3 courses. Yeah, so don't forget, when we're doing the translation, it will be from Alhamdu, Alif Lam Mim, all the way to the end, till one Nas. That's after 5 levels. That's after how many hours roughly? It's 5 times 20 roughly. The last 2 levels are a bit more, this take a bit more longer, but it's roughly about 120 to 130 hours for the 5 courses, if you put your heart to it, if you put your commitment to it, and if you say to yourself that I am going to make sure that I learn this great book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala without fail, without letting the shaitan whisper into your ear. Okay, how is it easy? After 3 courses, 1 page you will learn in half an hour. 600 pages, how long will it take? 300 hours. So it's saying here about 360 hours you will need to recite, to learn the translation of the Quran, going from cover to cover. That's really a very conservative estimate. If you put your heart to it, you can actually do it in less time, depending on how much hours you put in it yourself per week. And it says, is it not easy? I'm sure most of you would agree. It is something that can be done, alhamdulillah, with commitment and with firm irada, with firm intention to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that I'm doing it for your sake alone. But again, we must plan, because as you know, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail, as the saying goes. So we must plan. We must make sure our notes are up to date, and I'll go through the notes before we finish in the next 5 minutes. That how much books we need, what are the other material that we need, and what are the exercises that we need to do on a weekly basis. So now it's easy to understand the Quran. So make a plan for it, and arrange your timings around it. So keep your Thursday evening, if you can, free between 7:30 and 8:30. So plan to spend 360 hours. It's not a lot. 360 hours out of a lifespan of how many hours we have. Allah's given us so many years. 60 years at least of a human life. How many hours is that roughly we get? Out of 60 times, how many hours a day? 24 hours a day. How many hours a month? Any mathematicians here? Sorry, sir? Okay, I think we'll have to have a think about it. It's in the thousands, tens of thousands of hours per year. Yeah? Allah has given us this lifespan as an aman, as a trust, and we should really try to invest in it properly, invest in it to become closer to Him, Jalla wa Ala. So plan to study the Quran. And I said this earlier, that the objectives of this course, the first level, 20 hours, is to make sure, and I want you to go back with these 2 questions, that to convince yourself that the Quran is easy to understand. Don't let anyone say anything else to you. After doing these courses, after level 1, you're not going to become an alim or alima or a scholar or a mufassir. What you're going to become, you're going to become a servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is the objective. It's not to make you an alim or an alima. If you want to become an alim and an alima, there are other courses that you can take, and you can take, it'll take long, it'll take many, many years to go through that phase, but this is just to give you the understanding of the Salah and the Quran. And again, as I said, 50% of the words of the Quran will be covered in this course, bi-idhnillahi wa ta'ala, through the use of word-for-word translation and TPR. So remember those 2 words, Again, Salat, we need to make sure that the Salat is full of khushu. Khushu is humility, and by that we also learn the 7 surahs, as I mentioned, and the different adhkar in the Salat. I think this is one of the biggest challenges that we have, is the constant waswas, the whispering, as I mentioned earlier. Try to negate that. Make sure your mind is clear and your brain comes first. Check your brain first. 5 things we can work on in our brain. This is really to control how our brain works. Is control the steering of the brain, which way it's going, the direction, control where you can stop it and you can continue it. Talk to your friend, make sure you talk, to your friend, your family about it. Watch where you're going, your ultimate destination, and look for your shop. Look where you can pick things on the way to enhance your learning experience. That's what it means by look for your shop. Last thing is about the salat, and recite it with proper tajweed, understanding. Imagine what you are saying and interact. Make sure you feel and understand and interact with what you are saying. If not, otherwise the shaitan, he will come and destroy your salat. And it is really impossible to understand or to have that khushu without understanding what we recite. And this course will, as I said, I don't want to repeat it over and over, it will focus on understanding salat and interacting with each dhikr. Inshallah, we will finish off on this last bit here. I said earlier that we're not going to go too much into grammar this week, but next week we will start the actual lesson 1 with the introduction, and then we'll go through each week bit by bit. The salah is the important key here. Don't forget, the salah is something we need to focus on at all times in order to reconnect with the book of Allah subhanahu. Without salah we have nothing. There's nothing left without the salah, and it helps us from keeping away from bad deeds, as Allah tells us. So improve your salat and the rest will become easy, inshallah ta'ala. This will also be in your book, the objectives of the course, the 6 points, which the author, he goes to understand the Quran, teach how to understand it, 50% of the Quran, the salat, to teach how to bring the Quran into your lives, and also to strengthen your iman and your good deeds, and also to teach you 100 sentences of spoken Arabic. So remember that I told you earlier that there's going to be some spoken Arabic. This is what we are going to teach you, 100 sentences which are not slang Arabic. It will be Arabic which is in the Quran, which is called Fusha, the pure Arabic. You will learn how to say who are you, what's your name, where are you from, where are you going, who are they, who are them, etc. I said that this is something you will get, inshallah, in your notes, that this is unique. Alhamdulillah, you do not dive into straight grammar, which sometimes puts the students off course. So this is why it is unique, alhamdulillah. And inshallah, the last thing, earlier we asked the question, which is 25 times a day the Fatiha is repeated per day. We spend at least 5 prayers a day speaking to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not in English, not in Punjabi, not in Pashto. We speak to him in Arabic. Even though he understands all languages, don't get that wrong, he understands even the thoughts in our minds, but yet he is able to, he makes it easier for us to recite it and to read Arabic. This is valid for both man, woman, old, young, and even for a child. And this is something we're going to start next week, inshallah. So we'll stop here. Any questions, please.